Alrighty. As always, trying to get things all situated. My frickin' watch, it keeps sliding off if I put it on a little too tight and flex my wrist in any capacity. But the problem is if I put it on too loose, then it's all wobbly. So I gotta get a new one. But I've been too lazy to do so. Alrighty, is this thing working? Let's take a look.
There are thousands of upgrades to pick from. It's a mix of tower defense and incremental gain.
Too lazy to do so. Alright, good stuff there. Try to lure some people in through my Discord. Okay. Okay. Good stuff there. So, on today's agenda is I am going to, by the end of tomorrow, I will have a preview of my TTRPG. It'll be I'll have pretty much all the components needed to run an adventure posted, or at least, for people to look over. The one thing I gotta look over as I scroll all the way through is I'm obviously missing a bunch of crap, but I'm also gonna have to hyperlink everything at some point because I hate PDFs that are not hyperlinked. It's absolutely atrocious that PDFs can come out these days and not be hyperlinked. It makes life so incredibly simple. I have a laundry list of things I actually need to get done. And one of them includes... as I'm writing down another one here. Resources... I've got a laundry list here. I've got a table of contents, welcome, terminology. I definitely want to change some background consistency, class balance, potentially other classes, spell balance, equipment list, encumbrance, exploration rules, skills, and resource management in regards of how you get it back. So I got a nice list here. The detergent has arrived. Good. I was running low. How's it going? Alrighty, just want to say thank you for your TOA series. I'm currently DMing that module, and it helped me insane amount. Awesome to hear, Telio. Where are you at in it so far? You part way through, near the finale, just getting started. Where are you at? I love me some TOA. It is my most favorite adventure module of all time, and it is just oh so good. And I'm happy to hear that I got to help out a lot of people. So let me just go through the list here. So terminology. I'll get to the boring stuff later. I just really need to make this game playable. Alignment, origins, backgrounds, fate. You do love that 5th edition. It's so funny how we as a society, we always, we have a monolithic belief of, oh, if you're a part of this one hobby, you've got to like this one thing. But if you don't like that one thing, you're a terrible human being, so forth. That happens all the time. It's not just D&D, of course, with the idea of you have to like 5th edition. I like a 5th edition for what it is, but I don't want to fool myself into believing that 5th edition does everything incredibly well. I know that there's a lot of people who wish that 5th edition could be everything and try to make it everything, but unfortunately, it just simply isn't. Middle of Hexcrawl, party did the Firefinger with Azaka, went back to the port, and are now headed to the Aldani Basin. Hopefully I can steer them to Orlunga, then Omu next. That's what I love about TOA, is TOA truly is the old school adventure. You go out, you go on an adventure, you return back to town, spend your hard-earned gold, party it up, meet some new friends, make some new enemies, and get back out there again and again. And that is an element that I've seen a lot of people do not run adventures like that in 5th edition. I've seen a lot of people where they have this big old trope glutting campaign, but you only go out there one time in the wilderness and you keep on trugging along because there isn't any true incentive to go back to town. But I love bringing my players back to town. I love it so much. Like, I think the town is just as interesting, if not more interesting, than the wilderness. Alrighty, burst signs, class, to do all the freaking classes. So many classes. And then, oh my god, so many classes. So many. Spell balance. I put together so many different spells that I've got absolutely no clue what's going to be balanced or not until I get a bunch more eyes on it. Also including the Runesmith. The Runesmith's a little special with their spell casting. And my god, the spells take up so much of this player's portion of the book. I haven't even gotten to the DM's portion of the book yet. Okay, so equipment. Here we go. So I could sit there and start transferring all these stuff to the miscellaneous section of the equipment list here, but I don't feel like doing that now because that's going to be boring. It's going to be tedious and just super lame, but I'm going to do it at some point. The weapons and armor list, what I need to do with this is I need to, whether it be on the armor page or the weapons page, I need to write down some keywords. Like, I would hope that people can pick up and understand that if something says, AC/DR pen 1, I would hope that people understand that that means that, you lower your opponent's AC down by 1, their damage reduction down by 1. But I can't. The problem with assuming is you make an ass out of you and me. So I got to write down all the terminology at some point. Checks and saves. Time tracking. Encumbrance. My encumbrance system is pretty simple. Dungeon phase. I think I'm pretty much wrapped up with that. The encounter phase. I'm pretty much wrapped up with that. Which means I can actually now that I'm wrapped up with that, I can put them on a 2-page spread there. That'll be good. And then the encounter. Combat's going to have to take up 2 pages. I'm probably going to have to add a bit more to it as well. Just to give it a bit more pop. But I'm really happy with my combat phase. The journey phase, this is something that I'm going to do a lot more writing for. Oh my god. And then that's it. So today I actually wanted to work on, I guess, class resource management. So when you look at every tabletop role-playing game, the entire crux of the tabletop role-playing system is built around the features that you have and how frequently you can use them. When, taking for ease of sake here, 5th edition, because most people know 5th edition, you get all these hit points, you get hit dice, you get class features, you get spells, you get all, and maybe some racial features. You get all these different features and resources. The entire game the entire system, the way everything functions and feels, is all around how often you can use those features and how frequently you get them back. So, for example, if 5th edition was a game where there was no spell slots, you simply just, could cast whatever spell you want at a given time, it would end up feeling like a different game. If the fighter could action surge every single round, it would be a totally different game, right? And as I'm making a system, I'm really sitting there thinking about the design philosophy of everything in regards of how often you can use these features, how long, effects last, etc., etc. And ultimately 5e's function, once again, just looking at the big dog in the room, 5e in particular, the entire function of the resource system is built around the adventuring day. There is no feature that says there is literally like maybe 2 or 3 features or spells that say you can only use this once a week or once a month. Very, very niche. The overwhelming majority of features and spells and whatever say that you can use it X number of times before a short rest. You can use it X number of times before a long rest. And of course, with the resource system therein, we have on a short rest, you regain some of your features back. And on a long rest, you get all of your resources back, except for half of your hit dice. And ultimately, what I find is that works well if you're trying to tell the epic, heroic adventure of, I just fought a dragon yesterday, and I wake up, and now it's like nothing happened. That's perfectly fine. However, I don't want that for this system. I want there to be some semblance of lingering. And to that, I want this to be a more methodical game. I want this to be a game where if you get jacked up in a fight, you're going to be jacked up for a little bit of time. Simple as that. I want this to be a game where if you use up all your resources, you don't just take a little nappy new and wake up the next day and you can use them all over again. I want there to be not only a sense of purpose in regards of whether to use or not use your features, but I also want there to be the semblance of the tactical decision of how long you go with or without resources and how frequently you get them back. So let me see here. Where was I going to put this? I don't know. I guess I'll put it at the end here and I'll have to move it at some point here. But my idea is currently that you get a number of hit points back per day, and you get 1 spell or 2 spell slots per day. But not all the spellcasters are the same. Some of the spellcasters in my system use spell slots, like Vancian, and some of them use mana points, meaning that like if you're a level 1 caster, there is several spells, and one of the spells might cost 2 mana points, but another one might cost 3, but it's still a level 1 spell. Simple as that. Suggested tiers of difficulty. Yeah, so ultimately, that's another aspect of tabletop role-playing game design I'm thinking of as well, is how many optional ideas of, or how many optional points you put in the system, right? How many optional ways to play the same engine are viable? Once again, looking at 5th edition, you look at the DMG, and it's actually got a bunch of suggestions. Like, there's suggestions for running it where short rest is 8 hours and long rest is 1 week. There are suggestions where you add sanity and otter stat points. There's suggestions where you use mana points. There is a whole bunch of those suggestions. And there are times where more is a bad thing. There are times where too many suggestions could steer away from the type of thing that the engine's trying to pull off. I think an example of that would be like Call of Duty is a shooter, but what if we started adding base building to it, but only for like one game mode? But then what if we started adding, social dynamics of interacting with, the environment, NPCs floating around, but that's only for one game mode. You can end up having a thing where you can divide the community. You can have a thing where you spend too much time and effort making a bunch of options that steer away from what the system's trying to accomplish. And you can also simply just throw out too many bad ideas. And I don't want to do that. I want there to be a clear idea of what this game is about, but then add just like the tiniest little nuance of like, oh hey, here's some way you can change that. Because quite frankly, I trust DMs, I trust players, I trust people to change the system to be the system that they want it to be. And if it is a thing of, like there are times where you can't make a system what you want it to be, of course. But there are also times where just a slight little change in the fine dialing, you can make the system, seeing exactly what you want it to be. Like for me personally, I think that 5e shines more, in my personal experience. 5e shines a bit more when your stats are lower. But I know for a fact there's a lot of players out there that really hate that. I know there's a lot of players who love to have really high stats. But I think 5e is better when you have lower stats, because then features and spells and magic items and whatever else that give you bonuses are more impactful. Things like that. So let me see here. I've got a whole bunch of stuff written down for this, but I'm going to see what I can do. Alignment, magic. Weather. Got magic recovery, but I want to write just like overall recovery. Do I have that? Rest mechanics, is this here? I'm mind you, I'm looking at a Word document I have for this system, and it's over 120,000 words. So I've got a lot to sift through. Make believe. I think I found it. And also something important too is the design space of resting is pretty much an untapped potential in 5e. In 5e, it's literally just, oh, I go to bed for the night, and then when I wake up, I get all my resources back, I get all my HP back, I get all my spells, all my features, this and that. But for this one, I want there to be a bit more interactivity. So for this one, if you are out in the wilderness, out and about, I'll be actually posting this right now. There's going to be resting tied to your alignment. There's going to be resting tied to where you are resting, or there's going to be like features tied to where you're resting. And there, it's going to add a bit more variety therein. If you're out in the wilderness, it's going to suck more. But if you're back home, then resting is a lot better. So yeah, let me freaking, it's gotta sit through so much crap here. Golly gee willikers. Alrighty. What do I name this? What dost thou name this little section of the book here? Do I just say rest mechanics? Certain classes will be better at resting in the elements, I'm guessing. Yeah, there'll be things like that as well. Like I want there to be impact on the adventure. You know, it could, like, I don't want it to always just negate, like, once again, you know, I keep on having to default back to 5 here because it's just like the big dog in the room. But I play many other tabletop role playing game systems. But, you know, once again, 5e, the rest defaults down to, oh hey, we're safe and secure. We get a rest, boom, problem solved. But I want this to be a bit more like rich. I want there to be the story of you go out and you're in the wilderness, and some people are doing better than others, and some people are getting less and less resources, and you know, you go back home, but because you're a wicked character, you go to stay at the, you know, the shady inn. But if you're a good character and you're like in a shady town, like there's not as much good rest options for you. I want there to be stuff like that. Rest mechanics. Let's write something cute here. If my InDesign crashes on me, or, you know, doesn't crash on me, that'd be delightful. Here we go. As the world tears you down, it is up to you to pull yourself back up. Journey on. Boop. Cool thesaurus names for rest, reposing, or unwinding. Reposing just doesn't sound like something a human being would ever say. Like I know, like, you could say like a moment of repose, but I feel like you would never say reposing. Sounds weird to me. Alrighty. Let's write it on down. Let's go character style. Rest mechanics. Where'd I put it? Alrighty. So I think the base I have here for this rest system is that a night's rest gives you 1d3 HP and 1 spell slot back. A full day's rest gives you 1 hit die HP and twice as much spell points back. However, there's going to be the addendums of, oh hey, if you're this lineman, you stay here, so on and so forth. Hey there, again, just popping in to say thank you for all your Curse Strahd content. Heck yeah, Jeeves, awesome to hear. My COS game just started, and I've been using your guides for inspiration for weeks while in the bath, as mentioned last time, appeared in live stream. Yeah, I mean, Jeeves, I knew, I made that series knowing that I was going to be, you know, second monitor content, right? Like, in fact, literally just the other day, someone mentioned, like, oh yeah, you know, oh god, what did they say? I think I've got it in the freaking Discord here. Someone said, oh yeah, you know, I put them on in the background when I'm, you know, driving in my car, and that helps me prep for the session. You know, I'm about to find this right now. What they say? Oh, here we go. And another one is I listened to No Fun explaining each area while I did paperwork at work. You know, like that's an honor and a privilege to know that people are spending their time listening to me versus going to work, or at least doing concentrated work in a sense. But you know, I just I'm I'm glad that that my content could help out a lot of people. That's why I made those series, right? Because I wanted to help people. My entire channel is background noise for viewers. Scuddifer, you know what's up. You know what's up. How's it going, Scuddifer? Ah. You know, I mean, ultimately, here's the bottom line: is let's be real here. If we wanted to be super duper hardcore successful YouTubers, we would not be covering Dungeons and Dragons. It is a capped market. There is only X number of people allowed to be successful in the D&D sphere because of how niche it is, and it's just not the thing to do if you want to be successful. We're not doing this to be successful. We're doing this to help people. That's the real secret. You do have a nice voice after all. Valcata, thank you so very much. I do hear that I've got a face for radio as well. Alrighty, so to do Night's Rest, but let me grab all this other crap. Because ultimately, normal conditions. I believe I can do that. Yep, perfect. Alrighty, where the frick? I feel like I wrote a whole bunch of other stuff elsewhere. Oh, that's the other thing too. Is the system actually needed to? That's correct. At the system does need to change because it does get into the weird flux of at level 1 you take some damage, you get a D3 of HP back, then you're up and like up to full strength, no issue, like relative quickly. But then I thought to myself like, oh wait a second, there's that bit of an issue where when you get to the high level, it doesn't scale properly. So I have this. At mid levels, a Night's Rest restores 1d6 HP and 1.5 spell slots, rounded down. And at high levels, 11 plus, recovery caps at 2d6 HP per night. Yeah. Hi there, super happy with your channel. I watched 80 hours of your Curse of Strahd walkthrough with extra content. Our campaign has been going for over a year now, and I added probably 50 hours of extra content. So thank you. Jonathan, it is so awesome that I just got this train of people showing up saying thank you. Like, ultimately, I didn't think I would reach as many people as I did with my series. But it's awesome to know because I can see it. I can see the numbers going up. I get a ton of people messaging me. It is such a privilege to have helped so many people with that series because Curse of Strahd in particular is something a lot of people want. But at the end of the day, it truly is a big sandbox and can be very hard to conceptualize. It's a big book, huge areas. It's not a story-driven plot. So, a lot of people want, they want something, right? Because the book doesn't offer much help. So it's awesome to see that more and more people are getting help with my series. Alrighty. Yeah, let's change that and 2x spell slots round down. Um, so that's a normal resting. However, the big thing about the system is I'm going to have the environmental. So in fact, let me go ahead and show you what I've written up. I feel like the stuff I've written up though is very like contextual, like it's not mechanical. So let me see that. Uh, yeah, so boom. Let me take a look at this. So an example is if you're at a virtuous location, if you are a virtuous character, you regain 2d3 HP and you regain all spell slots of levels 1 through 2, gain +1 to all saving throws for 1 day. But if you're a wicked character, then you recover only 1 HP and roll a will check to avoid a divine curse. You know, and then a wicked location, the Shrine of the Bleeding Thorn. If you're a wicked, you recover 2d6 HP and all spell slots gain and all spell slots, and then you gain +1 damage for the next 24 hours. And then for virtuous characters, recovery fails, and a character must roll to resist a level of exhaustion. Like that's the fun nuance I want to have with the alignment system in this system, because in this system, alignment isn't set in stone forever and all time. Your actions will change your alignment, and I think it's very cool to see. Oh, hey, if I'm a bad guy and I go rest at the Shrine of Bleeding Thorns, then guess what? That's cool for me. I'm a totally wicked bad guy. But if you are a good guy and you try and sleep at the Shrine of the Bleeding Thorn, then you're not going to be in for a good time, right? And so I need to mechanically. I feel like I'm going to have some like core examples like of places, and then it's up to either the individual adventures that I'm going to be writing for this the system, or for DMs themselves to come up with some fun mechanical input in regards of this, because there's so many things you can do with this, right? Once again, if you're at the like you go back to town and it's a shady port town, so there are some places that are good for the neutral characters, but then mostly it's for a whole bunch of like bad or wicked characters. There isn't any great places for any good characters, because you're in that shady poor town. But then if you're in that knightly, epic, heroic city, then there's gonna be a bunch of good places for neutrals, and then a whole bunch of good places for good people. But then maybe not as much for the wicked characters. I want there to be that fun dynamic. Do I have any more? Let's take a look. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I have alignment specific resting refinements here. Let's take a look. Let's put that down and then go here. And also I need to now start marking this over. Alrighty, so alignment specific resting refinements. So here I got pure virtue. If you're at you had a +1 D3 HP recovery and +1 mana. Misaligned characters gain only 50% of standard recovery and may experience nightmares or malaise. Malaise. Such a fun word, malaise. Resting feels uplifting. Minor ailments are cleansed automatically. Misaligned characters may need to pass a will save to avoid exhaustion. Virtuous. Also, I should probably start bolding these to make them stand out a little. So virtuous area +1 recovery roll advantage mana. Misaligned characters standard resources, but roll hit dice with disadvantage. I've since removed the idea of hit dice with this system, so Yeah. Misaligned individuals feel subtly unwelcomed, but not actively harmed. If in a balanced area, then standard recovery. No penalties for any alignment. They serve as neutral grounds, offering rest without judgment or extra effects. In a dark area, you had +1 mana recovery, +1d4 HP. Virtuous aligned characters may restore resources at half efficiency and risk adverse effects like minor curse, subtle eerie ailments, so on and so forth. And a wicked area. Ah, damn it. There we go. Recover an extra hit die for HP, full mana restoration. Misaligned characters suffer halved recovery and risk penalties like curses or minor damage effects. Yeah, so basically, like this is my rough draft of the rest mechanics, but I want there to be just a tad bit more in regards of some fun things. So do I have any more written down in my huge ass 120,000 word document? Let's take a look. Good characters roll bad areas for being robbed. Trying to think of like, you know, it like whenever you run a, let's say, whenever you're running the game and you get to downtime activities, there's always the debate on how much input you have versus the singular role. Like I personally don't want to have to go through the minutia of having to play out a bunch of things when I want to do downtime activity to like say, hey gang, your character does something for a week. What do you do? Like I want you to tell me exactly what you do, and I want to get it down to like 3 dice rolls at most. And bad characters become shaken in good areas. Yeah, that's ultimately like what I'm going for with this, right? Is like if you are of the opposite alignment, then you suck. You know, once again, like this pure virtue area. If you're misaligned, then you get half of your stuff back. And so ultimately with the idea of, oh hey, can the character get robbed? Oh hey, can the character can the character lose something of value? And does the character get affected overall? Like it's a tough call on if I want that to be a part of the core system of, do I want to roll to see if you get robbed just because you're doing normal functions versus if you're doing something a bit more broad. I need to save as well. Alrighty, do I have anything else written down here? Mixed party. And then also, this is another fun thing too, is the idea of the party itself isn't going to be the same alignment. There will be times where people are of different alignment because of the actions that they take throughout the adventure, right? And so, the party comes back, and some people are going to be worse off than others. Some people are going to be better than others. And that's also going to be the fun thing if you come back to town. If you're a bad or wicked character, you go to the shady bar. But once again, like the goody two shoes, they maybe go somewhere else, and ultimately that affects, how the characters interpret and see the world. What else is there? I just look at everything as a plot hook, as you should, right? Like the more plot hooks you have, the better. The more that you can suck your players into the world by showing off that their actions have consequences, and the more that you can show that the game is interacting to them versus not, is good. Because I have seen plenty of games where the world is not interactable, right? I've seen plenty of games where the world is what it is and you have no impact on the matter whatsoever. And that sucks. Okay. I think I'm gonna. Okay. I'm gonna just mark that with like a little star to say I touched on it today. What else do I want to touch up on? Well, since I'm already here, I'm gonna work on exploration. So I've got two ideas for exploration with this system. One of the two systems is going to be the hex-based crawling. You get points, and the points are used to travel around, and depending on the characters that you have in the party, or the weather, or the terrain, you use more or less points over the course of the adventuring day, and you can go at, like, wherever your travel points allow. But then the other one I have is the more ambiguous one. The more ambiguous one I have is currently titled The Path and the Wild. And it's very, very simple. And the idea is you tell the DM, hey, DM, in my system, the system's called Make Believe. You're called the storyteller, I guess. Obviously, most people are always going to default to DM, but every TTRPG has to have its own, hey, what's the title called? You know, judge, referee, warden, various other things. But in this one, it's storyteller. And the idea is, if you want to go somewhere, you can tell the DM, hey, we want to go somewhere. And the DM asks the simple question. How are you going to get there? Are you going to follow the path, or are you going to go through the wild? And the idea there is, if you choose the path, it is a safer but longer journey. If you take the wild, it is quicker, however, it is more dangerous. And my idea with that system is to add the mechanical input therein. Players can get roles, and that role will help determine some number of things along the path or the wild, such as, Pathfinder, Scout, Forager, Guardian, things of that nature. Yeah, so let me write this stuff down. Or I've already got some stuff written down, but let me write this down here. The Path and the Wild. The path is a long but safer journey. The wild is quick but... Oh god, I gotta pull out word here because I want to say the word fraught, but I do not know how to spell fraught. It is fraught with danger. I want to say that's the I'm googling this word here. Is fraught the word that I want to use here? Fraught. It's not a word that comes up in every day. Of a situation of course of action filled with or likely to result in something undesirable. That is actually the perfect word. God, man, my English sucks today. What's going on? But is quick, but fraught with danger. Boom! Look at that. Perfect word. Alrighty. Alrighty, let's start this off. Gotta copy and paste so much crap here, let me tell you. Alrighty, I need to add a word here. Oh. So the idea behind this one is that you're drawing from a deck of cards, and the deck of cards is filled with a whole bunch of things that are potentially cool or not cool. And depending on if you take the Path of the Wild, you're drawing from essentially different decks. And there's a bunch of fun variants therein. So... where is this? Gotta freaking come up with a bunch of this. Here we go. Let's change this for situations that the players must act upon. So my idea behind this like Crossroads deck is that it essentially functions like a random encounter check, except it obviously could be more tailored to various things on the fly. It could be creatures, it could be obstacles, it could be resources, it could be events, it could be a whole bunch of fun things. And I just really love cards in TTRPGs. I just love the idea of cards over dice because dice are already used for so much. Cards I feel like just have this magical element to them in regards of the fates, in regards of chance, in regards of the face of the card, what does it imply. I just love cards. I just love cards as a function of a system. Um, nope, too big. Uh, there we go. Make that resources. I'm not using disadvantage. I'm using lower hand. Boom. Oh, I need to shave a freaking something somewhere. Um. Yeah. So, the idea here is the path in the wild. I want it to be much more abstract to just get the game moving along. But then the other system is a bit more inclined in regard, like, oh hey, we're plotting out our travel points. We're moving here. We're spending this many points traveling. We're losing this many points because of the weather. We're gaining this many points because we have this feature. Things like that. Alrighty. Also, why is that Minion Pro? What the heck? Let's change that. That needs to be Seraph. There we go. Did anything else become Minion Pro for no reason? No. Thank you. Alrighty. Yeah, I think I'll actually be able to put this out. Yeah, I'm gonna be able to put this out by tomorrow, for beta testing, as it were. I need to get more eyes on this thing. I need people to pick it apart. I need people to say that this idea is stupid. I need people to say that this idea is great. I need people to say that, oh hey, this needs clarification. I need a lot of that stuff because I am just simply one person who has typed up all this crap. And there's only so much I can think of. There's very few TTRPGs that have been created by a singular human being. Very few. Okay. So the Path of the Wild is the quick and dirty travel, and then this is the journey phase is the much more mechanically inclined movement. And for this one, I need to clean up a bit more. So let's start doing that. In fact, does this all fit on a 2-page spread? That would be delightful if it did. Ooh, I think it does. Let's go. Thinks it does. Tundra mountains. And I see my reflection in these snow-covered hills till landslide brought it down. So for this one, the system is as follows. You check for weather, you decide the course, check if lost, random encounters, describe the day, end of day. You have 10 points to move around. Each point, or each area is a 3-mile hex. And so, or 2 miles, my apologies. Each point corresponds to 20 miles, or to 2 miles. And so what that means is, with 10 points, you effectively can travel 20 miles on typical, like, if you're not being obstructed too greatly. However, if you are being obstructed greatly, then it could get worse. You know, you're not going to be marching 20 miles if you're in the mountains and it's a blizzard. So, like, for example, here, the mountains cost 4 travel points to move through on that, mile hex. What's up? Anyone having fun here? Not me. I'm going through the theme of making my TTRPG. But hey, I'm doing it because I want this baby to shine. How's it going, Overlord? Overlord. I've been watching too much anime recently. Overboard. How's it going? So I've got all the space, so I'm gonna say, like, oh hey, hex is this big. Each point corresponds to a specific distance. 2 miles per point adjusted for terrain. Do I need to? I think the big thing for the journey phase here is I need to do the weather. And I'm so conflicted on the weather. I had the idea of having it be... I've got several ideas for weather. I could do a hex flower. I could do a simple system where it's you just roll a dice or 2 dice or whatever, and you get a certain weather. I also thought about this idea of you start in the middle, and depending on your singular dice roll, the weather either goes up or down or stays. I'm that overlord. and so I'm just having this like real tough time like nailing down what exactly I want the weather system to be. Because I'm stuck between the 3. It's either going to be the hex flower, it'll be the like 2d6. You've got 11 options there. It's more than likely going to be in the center, but it'll go up or down. Or 3, it'll be the system where you start off in the middle and then it goes up or down depending on your dice roll. So currently, the 2d6 or the whatever system, where you just roll once and it'll determine the random weather, that is in the last of dead last for me. I don't want a system where you get a thunderstorm one day and then you roll like a 12 one day and then you roll a 2 the next, and like the weather just jumps all over the place. I do kind of want there to be like a gradual... I mean, weather's just so weird, like, because weather can just absolutely be like thunderstorm out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden the next day it's all peachy clean, sunny, and weather's just a tough thing. Ugh. But at the same time, I do want there to be like, the extremes are obviously so rare that they typically only ever happen once, and that's what I'm kind of stuck on. I'm stuck on the idea of like when you get to the extremes, it's kind of lame that the extremes only happen once. If this is a 2d6 system, and the chances of you rolling 12 twice in a row are ridiculously unlikely. In fact, it is a 1 in 1,296 chance that you would roll 4 sixes in a row. So incredibly unlikely. So I'm very much so against the 2d6 system. So I'm either going to do the Hex Flower or the system where is simply, you go up and down depending on your results. And that's kind of what I'm thinking on for here. So I guess this first one would be spring, I guess. Yeah, so I've convinced myself I am gonna do. I'm gonna scrap the idea of having just a roll once you get a random thing on the table system. I'm either going to go Hex Flower or this. I might just do both. I might just have both there, and the DM can decide whichever one they want to frickin' use. Okay. Yeah, I've convinced myself that is what I'm doing. Let me write that down for posterity's sake there. Alrighty. Anything else? There's a move down here. This is rest. Path in the Wild. That's going to be for Journey. The combat phase I am super happy about. I cannot wait to show people the wonders of tactical combat that is group initiative focused. I can't wait. This is the just encounters. The dungeon phase. Let me just double check the encounters phase here. Surprise. 1d4 times 5. 1d4 times 10 yards. Now that I'm thinking about it, for all the Europeaners and I guess just the non-U.S. citizens, I'm wondering if I should have like a thing of like, oh, do I need a separation of meters and yards? Maybe not. We'll see. I'll ask that I'll put that in my feedback there of, oh, hey, should there be some of that? Okay. Dungeon phase. You get a dungeon action. You can search, interact, move, force move, flee. Wandering monsters, times and turns. Movement mapping, encounters, resources and light. Encumbrance. I think I'm pretty solid on the encumbrance here. Oh, no. Maybe I wasn't. No, I had several ideas for the encumbrance. So I'm using a point system because I want to keep this simple. So, a two-handed weapon costs 2 points. A big old barrel costs 3 points. A potion costs 0.5 points, etc., etc. My idea I had several ideas. I either had the idea of you start off with a fixed number, and that'll be plus and or minus your strength modifier. And then I also had the idea of just your flat out strength score is how many points you have. And I thought to myself, those both have merit, right? Because this is a 3d6 system, so on average you've got 10. But, so if you have 10 points to carry stuff, then that's plenty. But the problem there lies in is if you have a low stat in strength, you can't carry anything. Like if you roll like a 5, then you can't be carrying anything at all. Now, to compensate for that, I do have the encumbrance levels of your capacity is that, but you only are overburdened once you get +5 of that. So I might just keep it. I might just keep it as the strength score, but I will or 10 plus slash minus strength mod. So I'll get some feedback on that in regards of what people like more. Do they want like a standard, you can carry this much and then it's tied to strength mod, or just a flat out your strength score is how many points you have? Because I think that is elegant that your strength score is just how many points you have. Like that's just a clear reflection of how strong you are. Like, oh hey, the person with 16 strength, oh yeah, they got 16 points to carry crap. Like that's cool. So got that. The saving throw stuff I'm pretty good on. The weapons, let's get down to business. So the weapons I've got pretty well laid out here. Or the armors, the weapons and armors, I should say. So the armor is as follows in this system. Armor gives you a flat AC, but it also gives you a damage reduction. What does that mean? That means if you're wearing chainmail, you have a 2 DR, meaning that if someone hits you for 6 damage, then you really only take 4 damage. Simple as that. And the reason I want this system to have, because I've seen some people say that like, oh, it's not good to like double dip, like it should be one or the other, this and that, yada yada. There's several reasons why I have both an AC and a DR. One, that is because there's no constitution score in this system at all. There's no stat tied to your liveliness, because I think con is an incredibly terrible stat. I think con is just so bad, and yet it's just persisted for so long in so many different tabletop role playing games. I just absolutely hate it. So I'm getting rid of it. So the HP numbers are lower. Now, to compensate for that, we've got the DR system. And I think this opens up the design space a bit, because now, because the HP is just a little bit lower, but oh hey, guess what? You've got some armor on, you take less damage. But then you get into the fun stuff of, oh hey, maybe you get an item, or there's a spell, or there's a feature which gives you a higher damage reduction, meaning you take less damage. But then there will also be enemies that have damage reduction penetration, meaning that they ignore your damage reduction, right? Like I know for a fact I'm going to have spectral creatures like ghosts and things like that. They are going to bypass damage reduction entirely. But then there might be some enemies that say they have a DR reduction, they have a DR penetration of 1, meaning that if you have heavy armor and you would normally take 3 damage off, you would instead take 2 damage off. You know, like, once again, opening up the design space is the way to go, in my opinion. Opening up the design space to allow for a bunch of creative things therein is interesting. And I personally feel that Constitution does not open up the design space. In fact, you know, I feel like Constitution limits not only design space, but character creativity. So with the armor here, I've got this fine list here that goes from 10 all the way up to 17. Armors are either light, medium, or heavy. And then I have also got 3 shields. There is a buckler shield, a round shield, and a kite shield. The difference there being is a buckler shield gives you a +1 AC against melee. However, it does not give you a +1 AC against missile. It's a small little shield. It doesn't protect you from arrows, because it's very unlikely they're blocking arrows with that one little missile. However, it weighs the least. It weighs only 0.5. Then we got the round shield, which gives you a +1 AC, and it weighs 1 point. And then we got the kite shield, which weighs 1.5 AC, but it gives you a further +1 AC against missiles. So overall, If you are looking to trim some weight off, maybe you lower down your shield. But obviously, the more you lower down the shield, the less privileges you get. I think that's just a very simple, elegant thing to do with shields. Because unfortunately, I see in most tabletop role playing game systems, the shield is the shield. Like there's literally just the shield, and then that's it. There is no other options in regards of like this you get the shield. You're right. Like no matter what you pick up, that is the shield. I feel like here there's at least a little bit of variety therein. Now onto weapons. So I've done some soul searching. And, I've got all these weapons here, your classic stuff, axe bow, crossbows, javelins, swords, you name it, right? They cost however much they cost. The damage, it bounces between D4s, D6, D8, all the way up to that coveted D10, with specifically the crossbow in particular doing D10 plus 1 damage. No matter what, the crossbow get a little bit more oomph behind it. But I've been doing some soul searching, and I've been wondering if I add a critical hit system to this game. The critical hit system I would add to this game is the following. Each weapon would have its own unique property in regards of what it does on a critical hit. So, for example, my idea would be if you're using the axe and you score a critical hit, you, instead of doing 1d8 damage, you do 3d8 damage. And then the critical hit, however, with the club would be you do 2d4 damage. And then the critical hit with the crossbow would be, you roll 2d10, however, it's an exploding die, meaning that if you roll a 10, you get to roll a third d10. You keep on rolling d10s until you stop rolling a natural 10. Things like that. I've been thinking about, should I have that in this system or not? Because I think that would add a level of variety to weapons. Maybe some of the weapons will have lower damage, but their crits are greater. Maybe the crit range is expanded for those weapons. I've been thinking about adding more to the crit system here. So I'm going to leave that for now. I'm going to leave it as is for now. But I think that might add a little bit of oomph to the system in regards of weapon variety. Because ultimately, I find that with a system like this, typically the major concern with a weapon is, well, one, if your class can use it. But then two, if your class can use it, you just take the one that does the most damage, right? But I want there to be a bit more variety therein. I want to add potentially a bit more, like, for example, being the difference between a two-handed sword and the polearm. They both do a d10 of damage. But then I could have, let's say, with like the two-handed sword, I'd say, oh, hey, the critical hit range of this thing is 18, 19, and 20, but it only does 2d10 damage. But then the polearm is a d10, but natively it's an exploding crit, meaning that if you roll a 10 for the damage, you roll an additional d10. But on a crit, you roll 2d10. Like there could be like that fun little mechanical differences therein. But I will have to get some feedback on that to see if people actually desire that stuff. Now, the real pain in the weighing is going to be the equipment list. Getting all... it's so annoying that there isn't a simple way to get all this into boxes just yet. I do know for a fact that there will be AI implementation at some point in the future, and maybe at some point I can just scroll over this and be like, hey, AI, put all this in a box here real quick. Just like in the previous examples. I would hope that would happen at some point in the future. I don't know if that's implemented now. You know what? I'm actually curious. Is there an AI on this here? I actually do not know. I couldn't tell you. I've got no idea. But I will have to sit there and meticulously draw all that out. Actually, one thing I'm gonna probably have to. I'm gonna have to alphabetize all these. What a pain! What an absolute pain. Although that being said, I will Claw out the class gear from this list, and then hopefully nail down a little. So let's take a look. What is in this that would be in the class list? Alchemist supplies. There we go. Alchemist. Also, is that? Yeah, that's good. Boom. Ugh. You hate when it doesn't fit into the box. You hate to see it. Oh god, what do I gotta do with this? I really want it to fit in one line there. Okay, there we go. I can do that. I can do that. It's fine. Also, I need to check. Is this all in the center? Doesn't look like it. I need this all centered. There we go. Alrighty. Alchemist supplies. You're grabbed. Also, I gotta specify GP. That's right. Component pouch. There we go. Is this not coming out in the center? What the heck is going on? What the heck is going on here? Let's bump it up to 30 GP. And you know what? Alchemist, your supplies cost 4. You're hauling a lot of crap around. Dice set is not okay. Holy symbol. There we go. Holy symbol. You've been down too long in midnight sea. Oh, what's becoming of me here? Let's just do holy symbol. Yeah, let's just do holy symbol. I'll potentially have other holy symbols later. But also, why the frick is this not centered? What is going on? Center. .5. Magnifying manacles. Musical instrument. Why is this thing not saving the frickin' that it needs to be centered? Whatever, I'll fix that later. Musical instrument 5 GP and 1. Poison, I'll have a separate thing for poison. Thieves' tools, yes. Yes, them thieves gotta be thieving. Also, did I put Tinderbox in the survival? I did not. Oh man, that sucks. I probably should put Tinderbox in there, shouldn't? Do I? I'll keep the Tinderbox separate. I've got the Flint Steel already in there, so I'll keep that over there. Scale, Tinderbox, vial, writing kit, antitoxin. Okay, I think I've gotten majority of the class stuff that I can think of at the top of my head. Work on that a little bit later. Alrighty. So one thing I need to do is I got incredibly lazy when I was making the witch's spells. When it comes to all of the spells in this system, I want them to have the following. I want the name, the range, and the duration. And potentially how much it costs. If you're a spellcaster of that level, then it costs you that spell slot. Like if you are, if it costs, a third level spell slot, you can cast that. However, not everyone's a Vancian spellcaster. The witch in particular, it uses a mana system. So what I need to do for this system is, or for the witch, I need to write down the range, duration, and cost for every single one of them. For note, every single spellcaster that is a true spellcaster in the system, they each have 6 levels of spellcasting, and each one of their spell levels has 12 spells attached to them. Just wanted to have a nice, robust amount of spells for each of them, so I came up with a bunch. But now I'm going to have to sit there and meticulously go through all of this. So, in fact, actually, let me take a look. I did the other spellcaster. The priest is also a Vancian caster, but there is another one that isn't. Yes. The enchanter, they use mana points, but theirs is called focus points. So it's going to be focus point, duration, and range. That's what I'm going to write down for every single witch thing. It's going to be a pain, but I got to do it. I need there to be a semblance of, actually caring. I need there to be that in this system. Okay. So these are going to be called mana cost. And boom. There we go. Oh, it's going to be so annoying. I did myself so dirty with this. So much work. 12 times 6 spells. 6 times 12 equals 60 and 72 spells I gotta go through. Oh my god. So much work. This is why tabletop role-playing games companies actually have multiple employees for stuff like this. Alright, so this mana cost is going to be 1. In fact, I might as well copy that. Creates magical light in the form of a flickering candle. Illuminates a 10-foot radius and dispels magical darkness. Lasts 1 hour. To duration 1 hour. Illuminates a 10-foot radius and range. We're gonna make this 20. Driving home from work, going to swing by the hobby shop. What are you getting? What are we getting? Are we a Warhammer nerd? Are we D&Ding it up? What are we doing today? What hobby are we going after? Is it cars? Is it trains? What we got here? Necromunda book. I'm trying to remember. It's like Necromunda as in when you say Necromunda book, do you mean like the actual Mordheim style, actual thing, or like actual play, or is this like a book about like a lore book, like all the rest of the 40k legions of thousands of books written for them? rule book and lore. It's funny, like when I thoroughly enjoy 40k, just as much as fantasy. But for me, between Necromunda and Mordheim, I'm just insanely more drawn to Mordheim just natively. I like I don't know what it is specifically about Necromunda that just turns me off in regards of like not liking it as much as Mordheim. But Mordheim to me just like feels so quaint in its design and also its style. Cause like yeah, like a bunch of the factions are just the human factions, but then you've got like some fun factions. You get like the Chaos Carnival, and then you can have a whole bunch of other fun things like I know a popular one is Beastmen and orcs and goblins and dwarves and elves and so on and so forth. But for me, whenever I look at Necromunda, all I ever see is just like, oh, it's punk rocker human group number one and grungy human group number two, and like I feel like Necromunda is suffering from the lore in regards of it wouldn't make sense in Necromunda to have the humans fighting Necrons in the Undercity. It wouldn't make sense for humans fighting Tyranids and orcs and whoever. It wouldn't make sense, and that's ultimately what Kill Team is for. But Mordheim, it does make a lot more sense. Like it makes sense that all these people are getting into this one city and trying to plunder it for all of its riches. Mordheim is cool. Wait till you see my current build for it. What faction are you rocking right now? It's funny. A while ago, I tried making a Mordheim League for Mordheim City of the Damned, which is the video game, and ultimately it doesn't have enough tools to make it an awesome league, but like it is there. You can theoretically have a run a league through that. The main issue is there is a couple of bugs, and there's way too much you need to witness in order, like there's way too much like work that needs to be done. And unfortunately there's another big issue is if anybody crashes, then like both teams like war bands just die, and it's just really dumb. I mean, terrain build, I don't have a faction picked yet. Okay. I do like people. I think Mordheim is definitely like of all the things that people make terrain for Warhammer. I think Mordheim is always like the one that people put the most effort into. Like people make little cute little wanted posters and signs and like hanging gallows and like all these destroyed ruins and stuff. People love making stuff for Mordheim. It's so good. Alrighty. Gotta move there. Boom. Which means I gotta move all of these over because I never want the spells to have to spill over into the next one. That might not be possible though with this one. I love Skaven. Yeah, man, forget Skaven is just once again that's another faction that I feel like 40k has space for a Ratman. Like I feel like there is space in there for Ratman. There is I don't know why. Like, I do know for a little bit they thought about putting dwarves and Skaven into 40k, but then they ultimately like didn't ages ago. But I people love Skaven. Skaven are just like aesthetically pleasing. They're just super interesting. You know, is what it is. Hey, dude, not a question as such, but about to start running Curse Strahd, and just wanted to thank you for all your videos and guides for running endlessly useful. Appreciate you, bud. Man, I'm just having my brain is bright right today. I don't know what's going on, but Chris, thank you so very much. It is awesome to see so many people showing up and telling me that they're helpful for, or they're thankful for the guides, because you know, Curse Strahd deserves some love and recognition. And it's awesome to see so many people starting to run it. What's funny is Curse of Strahd now is 10 years old, and people are still running that adventure. This goes to tell you, people want it. Dwarves are back in 40k, so maybe there's a chance for the rats. Maybe. So Chris, in regards of running the adventure, are you gonna do a fixed card reading, or is it going to be up to the chance and to the world? I'm curious. Okay, let's go here. Boop. Hex of Weakness is 2 mana. 2 mana. I think I will just to help me plan. I'll let them do some bits before the cards, I reckon, but want to make sure they get decent ones and don't just find the Sunsword in nearby carriage or something. So it's funny. So I have both ran Curse of Strahd and played in it numerous times. And it's funny. There is theoretically terrible lineups for that deck. Like, it could literally be, you know, in fact, this happened when I was a player. It can be that you can get the Sun Sword immediately right there because it's right there in the carriage. That's the end of the story. And then you can also get this once again also happened when I was a player. You can also get the worst result of an ally, which is no one's your ally, and you can theoretically just get a whole bad combination of things. But ultimately, still, whenever I run it, Curse of Strahd, I will forever always do the deck reading right in front of them at random, just to add that element of like, oh hey, this is truly up to chance. This is truly up to the world, and I love like that players get to see that. So one thing I would tell you is, if there's any way you can fool them into believing that it is truly up to chance, whether you're doing this online or in person, whatever. In person, you have to do some sort of sleight of hand, but online, you could easily fudge that any number of ways. But I truly do think that you should make your players believe that it is truly awesome, you know, sense of fate there. Alrighty. This is also mana cost 2. Got it. Witch's Crest. Also, I always need to change this alignment based. Here we go. And in fact, here I always have it be different? Boom. Here we go. Everyone knows 40k. LOL. I just like everyone loves the Tau. I'm not a. It's tough. Like on the one, there's aspects of Tau I like, but on the other hand, you know, I'm kind of torn on Tau. I'd have to sit there and look at all like the factions, and I would have to sit there and be like, you know, maybe make a faction, make like a tier listing for them. But I definitely think Tau would be in the lower half for me. Yeah, that's fair. I'm stressing enough about Death House, so once I've got a few sessions behind me, I'll come back to the idea of the cards and reassess. Fair. Fair. One thing I'll say is, you know, if you're watching my videos, I did talk about this in the Death House video, but, you know, it is perfectly reasonable to not run Death House. It is perfectly fine to run a Curse of Strahd campaign without it. You know, there's, once again, I mentioned this in the video, but there are certain elements of Curse of Strahd that just don't link up with the rest of the adventure. There's some that do, but I feel like you can literally just start off the adventure by having the players roll into town, because they get swept up in the mist. Maybe they're chasing after the wolves. You know, maybe they're riding with the Vistani. You know, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can just kick off the adventure. It doesn't have to be Death House. I like the fan art of the Lady Tau, but not a super fan of their playstyle. Look at that. We're summoning all the Warhammer nerds. You know, just I'm wondering how big the concentric circle is of Warhammer fans that play D&D. I'm wondering like what that circle looks like. Because I'm willing to bet not all D&D players are in a Warhammer, but I wonder how many Warhammer people play D&D. The only thing I played from Strahd was Death House. It was awesome. I think it is fun. Like, you know, Death House is certainly a unique experience for a lot of people, especially if they're not used to hardcore mode engage. Me personally, I always run the naked and afraid approach, where whenever I start a campaign in Curse of Strahd, they start off with literally no equipment, no weapons, no armor, no items, no nothing, and everything that they have to get, they have to earn through, you know, the adventure. Which is really cool, because if you're a spellcaster and you don't have your arcane focus and you don't have the items, then you have to scrounge for those things. And then if you're the you know, you're a fighter, you're scrounging for those weapons and armors, you know. I really love that stuff. Added that Venn diagram that I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh tonight at Locals, D&D Thursday, 40k at the weekend, diabolical. Whoa. You know, I'm actually curious about it. So I'm willing to bet that Yu-Gi-Oh is probably not in the same purview as D&D, but I'm willing to bet you Magic the Gathering is. I'm willing to bet you more Magic players play D&D purely because, you know, they're the same company, and also, you know, there was the D&D set release that brought some people in. So I'm willing to bet there's more Magic players that play D&D versus Yu-Gi-Oh. I genuinely don't know. I don't know. The only thing I know about Yu-Gi-Oh is that it's ridiculous. Like, that's all I know about Yu-Gi-Oh is just like everyone knows that it's ridiculous. That's fair. I think Yu-Gi-Oh players are special breed. That's another thing I know as well, is Yu-Gi-Oh players they're Yu-Gi-Oh players. That's what I know. Okay, so which is Caress is... Oh my god, I have not been doing the durations. Holy crap, I messed up. Arcane Grasp, manipulate object, 1 turn per CL. Envenomed Words. Duration will be special. Instant, I guess. Hex of Weakness. Target suffers -2 to strength rolls for 1 minute, so 1. Me not. You know, 1 minute per CL. And the Hex of Weakness, I think you got to be up close to it. Boom. One thing I'm also really enjoying about my system creation here is as follows. One, I really love the idea that your spellcaster level matters. If the stronger you get as a caster, the more your spells matter. For example, here, this Hex of Weakness, at level 1, it only lasts for 1 minute, but then, of course, as you get higher up in the levels, it lasts for longer. And then Arcane Grasp here, it lasts for 1 turn, and a turn is 10 minutes. So, in the beginning, it only lasts 1 minute, but then, boom, at level 6, that lasts a full hour, baby. Yu-Gi-Oh! Players are people. Oh, goodness. It's tough. Like, like much like many people of my generation, I grew up watching Yu-Gi-Oh, but obviously watching Yu-Gi-Oh is an entirely different experience from playing Yu-Gi-Oh, because the show was absolutely ridiculous, made no sense. There was literally no semblance of any rules, just complete, wonky whatever. But all I know, like I've seen a couple of things about Yu-Gi-Oh, and it just seems wacky to me that there are cards that get full archetypes made for them for cards that released, 20 some odd years ago. I remember like one of them was a really crappy card that was in the first set, which was I think it was called Skeleton Warrior or something. But it was a crappy card because in Yu-Gi-Oh the cards are not balanced to any sort of degree. And and then eventually, like 20 years later, they make a full bunch of cards that key off of this card that everyone knew was crap ages ago. Like, I don't think there's any company outside of Yu-Gi-Oh that would ever make cards that key off of a 20-year-old card. So weird. The transition from Death House to Barovia doesn't seem as jarring. Baldur's Gate Avernus, that was well. I will say, I mean, I'm very staunch about this, but I do genuinely believe that Baldur's Gate was squandered. I think that there should have been a Baldur's Gate adventure, and then I think there should have been a Descent into Avernus adventure. I don't know why they felt the need to squash the two together. I think they made both products worse for it. I think that the Descent into Avernus campaign by itself could have been a blast, and I think the Baldur's Gate adventure could have been a blast. But unfortunately, they just squeezed the two together. And what's really dumb is they did that because they wanted to key that off of the game, the Baldur's Gate, Baldur's Gate 3. But ultimately, that didn't end up happening because the release schedule got botched for Baldur's Gate 3, I believe. And so it ended up not mattering at all. My deck at the moment is a retrain of Grandpa's deck from the anime. All the weird old Goober cards and, of course, Exodia. Exodia, obliterate. Oh man, what a wacky game that Yu-Gi-Oh is. Also, going back to the spellcasting here, so not only are the spells keying off of your level, your spells are also keying off of your alignment. So there's Witch's Caress here, which is a range of touch, and it'll be duration instant. So if you are pure, virtuous, and good, it heals someone for 1d6. I'm going to adjust that. 1d6 plus 1 HP. But if you're virtuous, it heals for 1d4 HP and grants temporary AC plus 1 for 1 round. If you're balanced, then it heals 1d4 HP or deals 1d4 necrotic, your choice. But then if you are wicked, it deals 1d6, so once again, I think that plus 1 damage. So your alignment, which is shaping over the course of the adventure, it shapes not only the character itself, but also their playstyle mechanically. I really like that. Evil Eye. Evil. Evil. Effect. Target suffers -2 to attack rolls for 1 round. But it's also alignment based. So if you're pure virtue, you inspire fear in dark creatures, granting allies upper hand. But if you are wicked, then cause lingering dread, extending the effect to 2 rounds if the first save is failed. Boom, look at that. You're good, then your homies get the bonus. If you're evil, then the debuff lingers, which once again, your homies are natively getting, good stuff from. Cauldron Bubble. I think this is a pretty cute spell right here. That is also 2 mana. Effect duration will be instant. Range will be 30. It'll be 30. I'm actually working on developing an RPG from the ground up for a company. That alignment-based spell effect is very clever. May have to borrow that. Very tidy. Heck yeah. I personally can't tell you can't steal it. In fact, I highly encourage it because I think alignment should matter more. Ultimately, when you look at a bunch of, I've polled a bunch of people. I've asked a lot of people, and ultimately, a lot of people don't like alignment for a number of reasons. One of the major reasons people don't like alignment is because they feel that you have to play a certain way. Like people believe that, oh, hey, at character creation, my alignment is this, and I have to act this way. I'm not allowed to act against it. I personally don't abide by that. So with this system, your alignment starts off with at a certain number. It's either anywhere between a +10 or a -10. But over the course of the adventure, your actions are going to influence that. Because of the things that you do, your alignment's going to go up or down. You can help the old lady across the street, and you donate to the orphanage, and you stop the bad guy from burning down the town, you get bonus points. You go out there and you kick the old grandma's shin as she tries to cross the street. You steal from the orphanage and you help the guy burn down the town. Then your alignment goes down, right? And that is a direct reflection. Instead of telling players, oh, you have to play a certain way, they play however they want, and there is mechanical feedback for how they play. Like for this, for example here, Cauldron Bubble. If you are pure and virtuous, then you heal 1d6 HP in a 10-foot radius. Cool. Actually, I'm gonna have to adjust the mana cost on that because the other one, the Witch's Caress, is also 2. Maybe it'll be 1d6 plus 2. Yeah, it'll be 1d6 plus 2. Maybe. Once again, I haven't fully playtested all these effects out yet, so we'll see. But then if you are balanced, you choose to heal allies or deal poison damage, which, once again, you get the option. But then if you're wicked, you are doing damage. And, just the idea of your alignment, the idea of the way you act mechanically has feedback other than just narrative feedback, because obviously if you are a bad guy, then there should be some narrative feedback, right? Like that's a given. But when there is no mechanical feedback, it can feel it can feel bad, it can feel like it just doesn't affect anything. So this is mana cost 1. Deliver a short message up to 220 feet, audible only to the recipient. So range 120. Yeah, simple. Okay, mana cost 2. Got it. Summon invisible threads to bind a creature. The target is restrained for 1 round. Will save to negate. But if you're pure and virtuous, the threads shimmer providing allies upper hand. Because I'm not using the advantage system, I'm using the upper hand system. And if you are dark or wicked, then the threads cause pain, dealing 1d4 psychic damage each round. For 1d4 rounds. There we go. It's one of the design requirements for their game. They have like a wheel of alignment types and want some abilities to be based off of that, but they have fixed alignments. So far, I'm unsure on how to reward good RP around those alignments or to allow flexibility. So if it's an alignment where, if it's a system where your alignment is stuck, then the only way to mechanically give that feedback is to reward them either through features, bonuses, or XP. So I don't know if it's like, if it's an XP system, let's say, and you say, oh, hey, you acted within your alignment, you get a plus, you get 10 XP, you get 50 XP, whatever it is, right? It could be that. It could be, oh, hey, when you act within your alignment and you're this alignment, then you get a +1 to damage. You get a +1 to saves, whatever it is, right? It could be something along those lines. In fact, this isn't the only TTRPG I'm making. For another TTRPG I'm making, the alignment wheel is very simple. If, depending on your alignment, if you are evil, then you get a +1 to damage. If you are neutral, then you get +1 to skill checks, and if you're good, you get a +1 to saving throws. Very simple. Hearth's Glow. This is mana cost 1. Summon Aura of Protection and Courage. Protection, Courage, and Allies. So this will be duration 1 turn. Range. Self. Allies within 10 feet gain +1 to will saves. I don't need to reiterate on the time because the time is already listed. Also grants temp HP equal to the character's will modifier or caster's will modifier. Wicked. The aura instead blinds enemies within range for 1 round. Look at that. Making progress. Flicker Step. Teleport a short distance in a burst of smoke and sparks. So that'll be range 30, duration instant. Yep. Pretty simple. You know what? Actually, I think a fun iteration on this would be, I'm doing this. So what it's going to be is it's going to be 20 range plus, it'll be plus 10 per CL. So natively at level 1, you teleport 30 feet. But then when you hit level 2, you can now teleport 40 feet. And then go so on and so forth. Boom, look at that. Coming up with some fun, interesting ways to play up on the level. I like that, actually. Native passive buffs tied to your alignment could require also some RP effort to maintain. So bonuses, going to go right that down. Cheers, dude. But yeah, 1 a.m. here in the UK, so going to go to bed. Nice to chat with you. Chris, been an honor. It's been a privilege. Thanks for watching my videos. That goes a long way. Showed up to this chat here and chatting and watching. Goes a long way, so thank you so very much. Thank you, thank you. Alrighty, and to kick it off, we have the 12th spell of the first level of Witch. Whispering Winds. Summon a magical breeze to carry secrets and disrupt enemies. Send a message up to 300 feet or impose disadvantage on range attacks. Okay. lower hand. I have switched. It's moved over. So I've got the Whispering Winds, but I've also got the Moth's Wings. So Moth's Wings is only 1 mana point. You can tell someone something when they're 120 feet away. That's only audible to them. But then I've got the Whispering Winds here, which is the range is 300 feet. Or impose lower hand on ranged attacks in a 30-foot radius for 1 round. So this one's got more versatility, but obviously it costs way, way more. It costs double, in fact. Okay, off to a fantastic start. And you know what? I think that was a fantastic showcasing and start for me there. What I've got left to do is I am going to finish up the Witch's spell list, maybe clean up a few more things, and then I'm going to throw it out to the public. I'm going to throw it up in my Discord, maybe on the YouTube here, and show off some things because I really, really want to get this thing moving within this year. And the only way to do that is to get this thing play tested, get people with eyes on this thing, then I can edit the bejesus out of it. And then once everything's all Gucci, I will try and kickstart this bad boy, get some art for it, and pump it out to the masses. I'm looking forward to it. Coming along good so far. Actually, I don't have any of the other ones don't have numbers. I'm going to get rid of these numbers. Get rid of them. Get out of here, garbage. Get out of here. Actually, what I might have to do is I might have to... I'm probably going to have to redo these and put them in alphabetical order. But whatever. I'll do that later. Alrighty. So with that, nice little hour-long stream there. 2-hour-long stream there. I got to chat with some people. I got to show off all this hard work I've been doing. Once again, this freaking Word document is 120,000 words. To put that in perspective, on average, there's 500 words per page. So, yeah, there's a lot written down. Let me tell you, there is a lot. This document alone is the player's document, and it's already up to 159 pages, but I know it's going to go on even further. Probably going to trim some stuff down, but we'll see. But ultimately, I'm pretty happy with what I got so far, and I'm hoping that when I show this off to the public, you guys will be too. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, for clicking that bell, for joining my Patreon. Thank you, my patrons. Keeping the lights on around here. Thank you so very much. I can't wait to see you all next time. Join the Discord if you haven't already. I'm running some public games there. In fact, I'll be running a game, I think, tomorrow. So check all that out, and I shall see you next time. See ya!